The wind howled across the red plains of Xylar 9, throwing dust and shards of jagged rock against the walls of the human settlement. The sun, a pale yellow disk in the sky, barely pierced the ever-present haze, making the landscape look like fire had frozen in place. Soldiers patrolled the perimeter, their pulse rifles scanning the horizon, but something in the air made even the veterans uneasy. "Something's wrong," Sergeant Ryland muttered, his eyes narrowing as he scanned the dunes. "I've been on Xylar 9 for 6 months, and I've never felt this quiet before." Dr. Mira Halden, the colony's lead xenobiologist, nodded, her hand tightening on the railing of the observation deck. "Quiet isn't good," she said. "It's the predators. They hunt in silence, wait until their prey makes a mistake." Her voice trailed off as a ripple moved across the dunes. At first it looked like a shadow, then another, and then dozens. Alien apex predators, taller than humans, with sleek black exoskeletons and limbs ending in curved, scythe-like claws, emerged from the rocks. Their eyes glowed faint green in the fading light. The air seemed to shiver as the pack moved, silent and lethal, a predator army that had no fear and no mercy. "Open fire," Ryland shouted. Humans scrambled, but the predators were fast, faster than any human had expected. Bullets pinged off the alien carapace. The creatures didn't hesitate, they closed in with terrifying speed, moving like shadows across the dunes. "Fall back. Move the children inside," Mira yelled. Parents scooped up their kids, sprinting toward the safety of reinforced shelters. A young engineer tripped and fell, and one predator lunged at him. Ryland's pulse rifle cracked, sending the aliens sprawling, but more were coming. Amid the chaos, a small creature moved unnoticed near the edge of the settlement. A honey badger, black and brown fur matted with dust, sniffed the air. Colonists had seen it before, wandering near supply sheds, harmless and small compared to the alien predators. They had laughed at it, called it weak, but now its eyes were sharp, focused, and full of intent. The alien pack split, circling the settlement like a storm tightening its grip. One predator broke from the group, faster and larger than the rest, its claws glinting in the dying sun. It lunged at a child cowering behind a barricade. The parents screamed, but they were too far, too slow. The honey badger shot forward without hesitation. It moved low to the ground, dodging debris and the alien's snapping claws. With a roar that startled everyone, it leapt onto the predator's back, biting deep into its carapace. The alien howled, twisting wildly, but the honey badger held on. Humans watched, stunned, as the tiny creature fought a beast 10 times its size. "Get back," Ryland barked, covering the child with his rifle. "Stay away from it." But the honey badger's attack was precise. It darted, struck, and leapt again, forcing the predator to retreat. The alien hissed and skidded back into the dunes, leaving the child unharmed. The humans held their breath, then slowly realized something. This creature, this tiny guardian, had saved them. Did you see that?" Mira whispered. Her voice trembled. "It actually fought it off." The wind carried a low, eerie growl from the other predators. They weren't gone. They were circling, testing, waiting for another mistake. But now the humans had a spark of hope. They began moving with precision, using barricades, traps, and terrain to their advantage. Soldiers coordinated, calling out positions and warnings. Engineers dropped magnetic traps in the path of advancing predators, and civilians huddled behind reinforced walls. The honey badger scuttled back and forth between children, alert and fearless. It growled at shadows that moved too close, snapping at anything that came near. For the first time, humans saw intelligence, strategy, and courage in a creature they had always dismissed. Ryland caught Myra's eye. "We can fight them," he said, a mixture of disbelief and determination in his voice. "We have brains, weapons, and that little beast." Mira nodded, her eyes following the honey badger as it leapt over a fallen beam to block another predator. "Brains, weapons, and heart," she said. The alien pack roared into the sky, a sound like tearing metal, but the humans stood firm. They moved with calculated precision, falling back when necessary, trapping predators in narrow alleys, and using their knowledge of the settlement to their advantage. The honey badger was not just a fighter. It became a guide, a scout, and a symbol of defiance. As night fell, the first wave of predators retreated into the dunes. Humans were exhausted, some wounded, but no lives were lost this time. Children clung to their parents, and some shyly reached for the honey badger, who allowed them to pet it, growling at anyone who got too close. Ryland knelt beside the creature, his hand brushing its dusty fur. "I think we just met the last guardian of this colony," he said, his voice low but full of awe. Mira watched the distant horizon. "This is only the beginning," she said. "They think we are weak. They have no idea what we are capable of." And somewhere in the dunes, eyes glowed faint green, watching, calculating. The predators would return. But the humans, and their unexpected guardian, were ready. The colony had survived its first night. And for the first time they understood one truth. On Xylar 9, survival didn't just belong to the strong, it belonged to the clever, the brave, and the unbreakable. The colony woke to an eerie stillness. The first wave of predators had retreated, leaving scorched dirt and broken barricades, but the humans knew better than to celebrate. Even in the quiet, the dunes whispered of unseen eyes, claws scraping against rock, and the faint shimmer of alien carapace under the sun. "Stay alert," Sergeant Rylan warned, moving along the perimeter with his team. "They're smarter than last night. They'll probe our defenses, test us." Children peeked from behind reinforced walls, their wide eyes fixed on the horizon. Mira Halden knelt beside a cluster of them, murmuring reassurances. "Remember, they are fast, but they can be predicted. Watch their patterns, stay calm, and follow instructions." A sudden screech tore through the air. From the northern ridge, a single predator emerged, larger and leaner than any seen before. Its limbs ended in jagged talons, and its segmented body glimmered with a metallic sheen. It moved with unnerving grace, stepping silently over rocks as if gravity itself bowed to it. "Target!" Ryland shouted. Humans raised rifles, but the creature was already halfway to the settlement, circling with deliberate intent. A child, curious and too slow to retreat, stepped out from behind a barrier. The predator froze, sensing prey, and crouched low, ready to strike. "No!" A parent screamed, rushing forward, but the distance was too great. Time slowed. The predator lunged. Then, from the shadows of a ruined supply shed, the honey badger charged. Its movements were a blur, muscles coiling and releasing like springs. It leapt onto the alien's back, claws digging into the armored carapace. The predator twisted violently, but the honey badger held on, growling with raw ferocity. Humans froze, watching in awe. "Cover it!" Rylan yelled. Soldiers opened fire, aiming for weak joints, not to kill but to distract. The predator shrieked, thrashing, but the honey badger's bite and precision forced it to retreat from the child. Slowly, methodically, the alien backed away, circling, testing the small guardian's resolve. Mira whispered, "It's teaching us, teaching the child where to go, what to do. Look at how it moves, how it thinks." The child, eyes wide and trembling, nodded and took careful steps, following the honey badger's path to a hidden alcove. Soldiers and parents covered the movement, their rifles trained on shadows, scanning for more predators. But the danger wasn't done. 2 more predators emerged from the dunes, larger and faster than the first. Their claws struck sparks against rock as they sprinted, muscles rippling beneath the exoskeleton. The humans reacted instantly, forming lines, coordinating movements. Ryland's voice cut through the chaos. "Left flank now. Draw them into the traps." Engineers had rigged tension cables across the path to slow down the attackers. As the predators ran, one triggered a snare, yelping as it stumbled. Another was momentarily blinded by a flashing light device designed to disorient. The humans exploited every advantage, moving as a unit. The honey badger darted between them, leading the child away from danger, growling at any predator that tried to break formation. Its courage seemed endless, its intelligence uncanny. At one point, it leapt to block a predator lunging at a soldier, letting out a snarl that echoed across the dunes. The humans moved faster, smarter, mimicking its tactics instinctively. "Don't underestimate them," Ryland shouted. "Watch its moves, copy them. Don't just react, think." For a moment, a predator pinned a young recruit to the ground. The recruit's pulse rifle jammed. Fear and panic flashed in his eyes, but the honey badger intervened, biting the alien's limb, forcing it to release. The human rolled to his feet, grabbed a spare rifle and fired with steady hands. The predator shrieked and retreated into the dunes. Mira exhaled, wiping sweat from her brow. "Every time we watch it, we learn. Every time it fights, we get stronger." The humans realized the honey badger was not just a fighter, it was a teacher, a strategist. Its attacks were calculated, its movements precise. They began to mimic it instinctively, setting up ambushes, using terrain, and predicting the predator's path. Hours passed like minutes. The sun sank lower, painting the desert sky in streaks of orange and purple. The predators retreated again, but the humans didn't lower their guard. Children were safe, soldiers were alive, and the colony had survived another test. Rylan crouched beside the honey badger, inspecting its fur, dust-covered and matted, but eyes bright and alert. "You're more than a guardian," he said quietly. "You're a leader." The honey badger tilted its head, growling softly as if acknowledging the words. Mira knelt nearby, scribbling notes on a data pad. "They'll return," she said. "And next time, we'll be ready." The colony had passed the first real test. Fear had sharpened into focus. Panic had become precision. And in the heart of it all, the humans discovered something vital. Courage, cleverness and unity could stand against even the deadliest predators, if they watched, learned and fought together. Above the dunes, green eyes glimmered in the twilight. The predators were plotting, adapting and waiting. But the humans, and their tiny, fearless guardian, had already begun to evolve faster than the hunters could imagine. The first test was over. The real war was just beginning. The colony had survived 2 nights, but the predators were learning. Their attacks became sharper, smarter and more coordinated. From the ridge above the settlement, humans could see shadows moving like liquid, stretching across the dunes. These were no longer simple hunters. They were strategists, testing every weak point, every mistake, every hesitation. Sergeant Rylan paced along the barricades, his jaw tight. "They're not just coming at us anymore. They're scouting, waiting, calculating." His eyes followed a cluster of predators moving in an unusual formation. "We need to anticipate, not just react." Mira Halden scanned the terrain, her mind working faster than the fear in her chest. "We've learned their weaknesses, but they're adapting. We need traps that aren't obvious, decoys, false paths. Something that makes them think we're weaker than we are." Children huddled inside reinforced shelters, watching through small windows. One little girl, her hand clutched by her mother, whispered, "Will they get us?" Mira knelt beside her. "Not if we're smart. And we have someone who knows more than anyone else." She nodded toward the honey badger, which was already circling the perimeter, nose twitching, eyes alert. The first predator strike came at dawn. A pack moved along the eastern cliffs, their claws scraping against stone. They leapt down toward the colony with terrifying precision, their segmented bodies glinting in the rising sun. Humans were ready. Soldiers fired suppression rounds, but the predators moved in patterns that dodged bullets and used shadows for cover. The honey badger darted forward, weaving through the chaos, growling and snapping at anything that threatened the humans. It guided the children, leading them along hidden paths behind barricades and supply crates. Its small size let it move where humans could not, and its intelligence kept everyone one step ahead of danger. One predator, larger than the others, lunged at a barricade where 2 engineers were setting up a new energy trap. Sparks flew as claws struck metal. The engineers froze. The creature raised its head, revealing mandibles that clicked like steel. Fear rippled through the humans. Without hesitation, the honey badger launched itself at the creature, leaping onto its back. It bit deep into a joint near the creature's forelimb, forcing it to twist away from the humans. Rylan and the soldiers took the opening, firing precise shots that slowed the predator without killing it. "Move. Move to the secondary safe zone," Rylan shouted. Mira herded the children, their faces pale but determined, as they followed the honey badger through tunnels dug under the settlement. The creature paused at intersections, growling sharply to indicate danger or safety. Humans were starting to trust its instincts more than their own. Hours turned into a tense game of cat and mouse. The predators tried new tactics: feints, split attacks and sudden charges from unexpected angles. Each time humans adapted. They rigged traps that activated silently, used mirrors and reflective panels to confuse the aliens, and created false shadows to lure them into dead ends. The honey badger led scouts along the perimeter, testing and teaching the humans what worked. At one point, a predator ambushed a group of soldiers near the water reserve. Its claws sank deep into a steel wall, shaking the structure. Rylan's squad opened fire, but the predator's armored carapace deflected the bullets. Panic started to rise, until the honey badger darted into the fray, biting the predator's hind limb. It leapt, rolled, and ducked under the alien, forcing it backward and giving the soldiers time to regroup. "Focus. Don't let it get inside the perimeter," Rylan yelled, voice tight with urgency. Sweat dripped from his brow as he coordinated movements with military precision. Each soldier knew to watch the honey badger as much as their weapons. It was small, yes, but brilliant in battle. By nightfall, the humans had forced the predators to retreat once again. They were wounded and frustrated, their strategy failing against an opponent they had underestimated. Soldiers patched injuries and reinforced barricades. Mira jotted notes furiously, analyzing predator behavior. They're adapting faster than we expected. But so are we. And that little creature is leading the way. Children, exhausted but safe, gathered near the honey badger. One little boy whispered, "It's our hero." The honey badger sniffed at him, then growled softly, alert to every sound. Ryland stood beside Mira, looking toward the dunes where glowing green eyes reflected the last light of day. "They'll come back," he said, voice grim. "And next time it won't be a test. It'll be an all-out attack." Mira nodded, her face set with determination. "Then we'll be ready. We've learned how to fight together and we're not alone. The colony, and our guardian, we're stronger than they think." The predators watched silently from the shadows, their glowing eyes scanning, calculating, waiting. But the humans had evolved too. Bravery, intelligence, and trust in the smallest, fiercest guardian had transformed fear into strategy. The desert night settled over the colony, but it was not quiet. Every shadow was a challenge, every movement a warning. The humans slept lightly, their minds alert, their hearts brave, knowing that the honey badger, and their own cleverness, would face whatever came next. And somewhere in the dunes, the apex predators prepared for their next strike, unaware that their prey was no longer helpless, and that the colony had learned the most dangerous lesson of all: humans could dominate through courage, cunning, and unity. The morning sky over Xylar 9 burned red, as if the planet itself was warning the colony. The predators had returned, and this time they were different, bigger, faster, and more cunning. From the dunes, the humans could see a massive silhouette moving with deliberate strength. Its claws were longer than a soldier's arm, and its carapace shimmered with sharp edges that caught the rising sun. This was the Alpha, the one the colony feared in whispers, the predator that could crush everything in its path. Everyone inside the barricades. Sergeant Ryland shouted, his voice raw with urgency. "Do not engage it alone. Stay with the group." Soldiers scrambled, pulling civilians and children into reinforced shelters. But even as they moved, the Alpha advanced with terrifying precision. Its roar echoed across the dunes, shaking loose dust and debris. Mira Halden's hands flew over her tablet, marking the Alpha's approach. "It's learning faster than the others. Its attacks will be coordinated, relentless. We can't just shoot, it's too strong. We have to outsmart it." From the shadows near the supply sheds, the honey badger appeared, eyes gleaming, fur bristling with tension. It had sensed the Alpha first. Without hesitation, it charged, dodging the predator's massive claws, darting low and fast, forcing the Alpha to turn again and again. Soldiers followed its movements, realizing instinctively that this small creature was now the guide to their survival. Ryland barked orders. "Set the traps. Use the narrow corridors. Funnel it into the kill zones." Engineers triggered motion sensors and magnetic snares. Barricades swung into place, creating channels that would slow down the Alpha. But it was clever, testing each obstacle, striking, twisting, and calculating. Fear and adrenaline danced through the humans' veins, but they stayed focused, their training amplified by the honey badger's guidance. The Alpha struck first at a barricade, smashing it with one massive claw. Sparks flew, metal bent, and dust exploded into the air. A soldier was thrown backward, scraping his arm across jagged rock. "Fall back," Ryland yelled, diving to help him up. "Don't lose your head." But the honey badger did not retreat. It darted onto the Alpha's back, biting and clawing at the armored segments, forcing the creature to twist violently. The humans saw the opening and reacted. Soldiers fired precise rounds at the weak points the honey badger revealed, their rifles echoing in rhythm with the chaos. One predator lunged at a group of children hiding in a tunnel. Panic surged, but the honey badger leapt in, growling fiercely, darting between the alien's legs and biting the carapace. The predator staggered, and the children scrambled behind the humans, trembling but alive. Mira shouted over the noise, "This is it. Follow the badger. Copy its moves." Humans began coordinating with the creature, not just defending but attacking strategically. Barricades became weapons, traps became extensions of their reflexes, and every move was calculated. The Alpha realized the humans were no longer predictable. It roared, shaking the air, and charged directly at Ryland. Without thinking, the honey badger leapt in front of him, taking the brunt of the blow. Dust and debris filled the air as the creature struck the ground, snarling but still alive. Ryland's heart pounded as he saw the tiny guardian risking itself. "Get back. I've got it," he yelled, firing at the Alpha's flank, drawing its attention. Soldiers reinforced the channels, funneling the Alpha into a narrow alley lined with magnetic snares. The Alpha twisted, trying to break free, but the humans pressed, working as one. The honey badger, despite scratches and bruises, darted forward repeatedly, distracting, confusing, and guiding. Its courage inspired every human in the colony. Children watched, hiding but wide-eyed, as adults moved like one organism. "Look at it," one whispered. "It's teaching them, helping them." Minutes stretched like hours. Sweat, dust, and fear mixed into a brutal ballet. The Alpha clawed, snapped, and roared, but the humans were smarter, faster, and coordinated. Finally, after a vicious struggle, the predator stumbled into a trap the engineers had designed specifically for it. Magnetic snares clamped around its legs, immobilizing the massive creature. The humans fired a controlled burst at weak points, and the Alpha let out a final roar before collapsing, exhausted and restrained. Silence fell, broken only by the heavy breathing of humans and the soft growls of the honey badger. Soldiers and civilians gathered around, checking injuries and reinforcing barricades. The little creature, dusty and bloodied but unbowed, sniffed the air and then nuzzled the children, its eyes alert for any remaining threats. Rylan knelt beside it, brushing dust off its fur. "You did it, you saved all of us." His voice trembled with a mix of exhaustion and awe. "We couldn't have done this without you." Mira looked toward the horizon, where the last predators had retreated, silent but watching. "They'll be back," she said softly. "But now they know, they are not the only hunters. We've learned. We've adapted. And we are not afraid anymore." The colony had survived the Alpha's assault, not through brute strength alone, but through courage, intelligence, and unity. The honey badger, once overlooked, had become the heart of their defense, teaching humans that even the smallest ally could be the difference between life and death. Night fell over Xylar 9, the stars cold and distant, but the colony glowed with a new confidence. Humans had faced the deadliest predator yet and survived, not just surviving but dominating, cleverer than anything the alien world had thrown at them. Rylan looked at the honey badger one last time before retreating into the command center. "Rest, little one. Tomorrow we fight smarter. Tomorrow we show them that humans never back down." And somewhere in the dunes, green eyes reflected the fading light, silently promising that the war was far from over. But the humans had learned their greatest lesson. Sacrifice, strategy, and courage could bend even the deadliest predator to their will. The colony had survived weeks of attacks, but the night air over Xylar 9 was thick with tension. The dunes whispered and shifted as unseen predators moved, stalking, circling, and waiting. The humans could feel it. Something was coming, bigger and smarter than any they had faced before. From the horizon, a faint green glow spread across the dunes. The apex predators were gathering. Sergeant Rylan stood atop the command bunker, scanning the horizon with binoculars. "It's all of them, the whole pack led by the Alpha," he said, jaw tight. "This is it. If we fail now, the colony falls." Soldiers tightened grips on rifles, eyes wide, sweat dripping from brows. "We stick to the plan. We fight together. No heroics except the little one." He glanced at the honey badger, crouched low, muscles taut, eyes glowing with a feral intelligence. Mira Halden checked her instruments, tracking movement across the dunes. "They've learned from our last fights. They're coordinating attacks, testing multiple entry points. But so have we. Traps are in place. Barricades reinforced. Our strategy, it's stronger than theirs." A sudden screech shattered the tense silence. The predators charged in unison, their claws striking sparks against metal and rock. Dust rose like smoke, mixing with the red glow of the dawn. The humans moved as one, falling into positions, guiding civilians and children toward hidden tunnels and safe zones. The honey badger darted ahead, growling at the first wave of predators, leading soldiers to the traps they had prepared. One massive predator lunged at a barricade, snapping steel beams. Two soldiers dove to the side, firing precise bursts, but it barely flinched. The honey badger leapt onto its back, claws digging deep into armored joints. The creature screamed, thrashing violently, giving the humans an opening to strike at weak spots. "Push forward," Rylan shouted, voice raw with adrenaline. "We move as one. Follow the Guardian." The battle became a blur of motion. Rifle fire, sparks from metal clashes, predators twisting and striking, humans dodging and countering. Engineers triggered magnetic snares and collapsing barricades, and the honey badger darted through every chaos point, biting, distracting, guiding. Children hid safely, their eyes wide, clutching each other as their parents fought beside the soldiers. At one point, a predator broke through the outer barricade, heading straight for the main shelter. Myra's heart raced. "It's going for the children," she screamed. Before anyone could react, the honey badger charged, leaping onto the predator's head, biting and scratching with unmatched fury. The alien stumbled, giving the humans time to cut it down with synchronized rifle fire. Rylan wiped sweat from his brow. "Incredible, it's doing more than protecting us. It's leading us." The Alpha emerged from the dunes, larger than ever, its segmented limbs glinting like knives in the sunlight. Its roar shook the ground. The humans froze for a heartbeat, a collective breath held in awe and fear. Then Rylan shouted, "Trap it! Funnel it into the center." Soldiers worked in perfect unison, blocking avenues of escape. The honey badger darted between the humans and the predator, growling, snapping, and nudging it along the path they had designed. The Alpha lunged at the honey badger. Dust and debris exploded into the air as the creature rolled, twisted, and struck back, refusing to yield. The humans fired coordinated volleys at the Alpha's weak points, guided by the Guardian's precise attacks. The predator staggered, roaring in frustration, then skidded into the magnetic trap the engineers had positioned. Sparks flew as its legs were immobilized, claws scraping helplessly against the metal. Rylan lowered his rifle, chest heaving. "It's done. It's finally done." The colony was battered, walls broken, and the ground scorched, but the humans had survived. Children ran to the honey badger, hugging it, tears streaking their dirt-covered faces. Soldiers patted its back, amazed at the bravery and intelligence of a creature they had once underestimated. Mira approached Rylan. "We underestimated more than one thing," she said softly. "We underestimated ourselves, and our guardian." Rylan knelt beside the honey badger, brushing dust from its fur. "You've done what no one thought possible," he whispered. "You kept us alive. You taught us how to fight smarter, together." From the dunes, the surviving predators watched silently, their glowing eyes fading into the twilight. They had tested the humans, but they now understood something vital. The colony was no longer prey. Humans, clever and brave, had adapted. They had learned, coordinated, and dominated. And standing among them, the honey badger, the smallest, fiercest of guardians, was the heart of their strength. Children laughed shakily, running to embrace their savior. Soldiers exchanged nods, understanding that their victory was not only skill and courage but also trust in the unexpected. Mira smiled, writing her final notes on the day's battles. "Brains, courage, and unity, that's how humans survive. That's how we thrive." The sun set behind the red dunes, painting the sky in deep oranges and purples. The humans gathered, exhausted but alive. The colony had survived the deadliest threat yet. And as they looked to the horizon, they knew one truth above all. On Xylar 9, survival belonged not just to the strong or the fast, but to the clever, the brave, and the unbreakable, and to those willing to fight together even with the smallest guardian at their side. Rylan's voice broke the quiet. "We've earned their respect, and our own." The honey badger growled softly, standing tall among the humans, eyes glinting with pride and vigilance. The last guardian was still watching, still ready, and the humans knew that as long as they fought with courage and intelligence, nothing, no predator, no alien, no impossible threat, could ever break them.